The word inspiration is derived from the Latin word for breath, because ancient writers felt that a spirit was literally breathing the work into them. Which is, I think, a way of saying, we have no freaking idea where this is coming from. And that's a problem when you have to get something done. The first and most important thing I want to say here is if you have a process that's working for you, if you can write what you want, the way you want to write it, and it's not making you or everyone around you crazy, do that. But for most of us, while creativity is unbelievably exciting, it's also unreliable and frustrating. And most artists get to a place where how they work doesn't work. So I want to talk about method acting, because it was invented to deal with the fact that actors had to bring inspiration and emotion on command. Now, luckily for writers, mostly we can work without the crowd, but we also have to summon up emotion and creativity for a lot of characters. And since you can't write a long narrative in one sitting, we have to be able to set it aside and come back to it. And writers have to be able to step back and analyze the story and the structure while still being emotional and creative. And most terrifying of all, an actor at least has a script to work from. A writer faces the blank page. But it was actors who figured out that if you put your energy and focus into the process, you can make this magical mystery thing we do kind of reliable. Make it a routine, a ritual, a safe, predictable process so you can get loose and try things and have fun. It should be like walking or speaking. You work on it until you're not thinking about the steps or the words, you're thinking about where you're going or what you're saying. Now, a lot of method acting techniques do not apply to writing, but the basic approach is really useful. Don't try to get a certain reaction or think about how it's supposed to be. Focus on characters taking action. Explore the reality and needs of the people and the story and discover what you need. Be specific. Creative work breaks down into finite particular tasks. Even if you're coming up with a universal theme, you need to make it into a specific statement or question in a specific situation. Be in the moment. Don't worry about what you're going to do later or how you got here. Connect to your feelings about the given circumstances of the characters in this particular moment in the story. So, for the rest of this video, I'm just going to talk about some useful ways of doing that for writers. First, since feelings and inspirations come to us magically, it seems like art should too. But art is work, and you have to learn the skills and routines that go into it and work on them over time. And creative work can be stressful. Not knowing how you're going to solve a problem or whether it's going to come out well can cause terrible doubt and fear. So, artists need to learn to get comfortable with uncertainty. You can't know if your work will be good enough before you do it. Before you create something, you will have many, many questions. You can only answer them by creating it. Get comfortable with saying, I don't know yet, but I will, because I am making choices, and with every choice I make, other choices become clear. And get comfortable with failing. What you want is to get so comfortable with creating freely and adjusting and rewriting that it doesn't feel like failing, it feels like working. Because it is. Every artist has to find ways to make that bad work part of the process. To enjoy it for what it is without fear or shame, even when you have to force yourself to write. We all got into art because of the magic and inspiration of somebody else's finished work. But riding the roller coaster is different from building the roller coaster. There's a lot of carpentry, a lot of drudge work. So, practice writing when you don't want to, and writing things you don't want to write. Do it a little bit at a time, over and over. Do this privately when no one is looking and it can't hurt. Now, when our process is not working, we often say, I can't think of anything, or I don't feel it. It seems like our very ability to think or feel is broken or used up. It's not. As far as I can tell, within each one of us, there are unemptiable reservoirs of pure feeling. This kind of core emotion is so powerful that it can sometimes be overwhelming or scary. So human nature has built in all kinds of safety valves so we don't just open the floodgates and get knocked off our feet. The point is, for whatever reason, we can't just walk right up and plug into our feelings. But they are there. And creativity seems to be like that too. It's always there, you just have to know how to get at it. So the main tip here is, trust the process to bring the feeling. This is hard to do. It takes conscious, deliberate practice. If you take the steps, the path will appear. Now, even when the work is flowing perfectly, often you will write something you have to cut, or invent some background you never use, or the solution that seemed golden yesterday doesn't seem so great today. Except that wasting some time is a required part of the creative process. It will happen. But sometimes that wrong turn or dead end is part of what you need to find out where you're going. You don't want to try to waste time, but when you do it, don't beat yourself up. Wasting time working is very different from procrastinating. Wasting time is doing the job badly or in an unproductive direction. Procrastination is not doing the job. Some things that are not a waste of time are testing and rejecting a possibility. After he had been working without success on the light bulb for years, someone said to Thomas Edison, "I'm sorry you're not making any progress." And he said, "But I am. Now I know 10,000 things that can't be used as a filament." Doing work that doesn't sell. First of all, selling is not within your control. And sometimes you do work to learn or vent or explore. Doing work that isn't as good as you hoped. Welcome to being an artist. It's never what you think it will be. Let it be as good as it is and try again. Start a new one. If you find that you have wasted time on something, look back and see if the impulse you were following is familiar. If so, does it usually waste time? Can you notice that impulse sooner next time and stop? Then this wasn't a waste of time. Now this one is huge. When you think about your process, you probably think of this or this. But what you really should be thinking of is this. And I will tell you why a spiral process makes for the best writing. Every time you sit down to write, you are slightly different. You did stuff since you last wrote. Things happened in the world. You're looking at it with slightly different eyes, working with slightly different values. So you tweak and build slightly differently every time you write. So leave room in your process to go back around and keep reapproaching everything with slightly different eyes. When you do that enough, it gets really good. And the only way to make any journey is one step at a time. Break it down into steps that are the size you can handle. Worry only about taking each step. Enjoy the limits. When you begin a project, it can go anywhere, be everything. But the work comes together when you admit that no matter how dense, epic, or complex a work is, it is still made up of a limited number of scenes, pages, and words. We get interrupted. We have to do other things. We don't think everything out perfectly, and sometimes the words just don't come. Build yourself a process that allows you to take the time it takes. Know when to stop writing. Creative work is intense. You lose track of time. Your mind is in another reality. There's only so much of that a mind can take. Now and then, stop. Do something else. Let your mind restore itself. Everyone is different. Some artists need to build up momentum, so the work they do after a couple of hours is the good stuff. Others start out hot and burn out fast. Just get to know yourself. There's no right or wrong way to do this. All that matters is how it works for you. Knowing when to stop also means forget perfection. Screenwriting advisors talk about getting it to be as good as you possibly can before you submit, which is good advice. But actual working writers know what that really means is it's not the last thing you'll write. It's probably not the last time you'll rewrite it. So sure, do the best you can at the moment and then let it go. Work out a method in which writing is something you look forward to. You can't do something this personal, self-disciplined, and solitary if it destroys you, if it's misery. It should make you feel good. Yes, it's work, but it's supposed to be work you love. And I think learning to focus on the work, on the working, on the process is how you get there. Go write something. If you like this video and subscribe to this channel. Leave me comments, ask me questions in the comments section of this video, or go to writingforscreens.com. Yippee! I also think we have unpunished. Now, often, even when the work is flowing, right or way wrong, boom, that was wrong. There is a wrong. I made a terrible error. Get comfortable. Get comfortable. Get comfortable. Get comfortable.